I started to expect Renaissance to do the ministry I'm talking about in the music. If we bring the gospel to where people are, we can expect change. We can expect a renaissance to happen. And that was the whole vision, the whole idea, that we would see a change in youth and young adult culture because of the gospel via hip hop. You have big dreams, but when you see them start to come true, it's still mind blowing. Like, we had no idea that it'd take us across the country. We had no idea it'd take us to Africa. We had no idea that that would start the Safe House Project, which would impact Africa, now spreading across the states. We had no idea that my pastor Kevin and I would take our dialogue about racial justice and the gospel, and it would start the City Collective, and we would bring unity amongst the churches in Hampton Roads around this really tough, divisive issue, and that would result in a 5,000 person march, and we're still seeing effects of that today. We didn't have any ideas of any of that. Had no idea that we would produce our own concert series twice, our own tour series. We had no idea about the life change stories that come from that, and how people hit us in the DMs and say, man, this lyric you said really changed my life. What did you mean by that? You expect and want those things, but when they happen, they're still mind-blowing. We expected people to get hope. We expected people's lives to change. But every single time it happens, it's like it's the very first time. Every time somebody says, man, I found Jesus tonight. Every time somebody says, man, I see things differently than how I did before I came here. That video touched my life. That song touched my life. That sermon touched my life. Every single time, it's like the first time.
From the moment that Legin pulled up to our church to get ready for the concert that evening, I could tell it wasn't about a concert for him. It was ministry. He was here to spread the gospel, and he was here, yes, to minister to the teens in our community, in our church, but he was also here to minister to me and to my leaders. And I know this because when we took him out to dinner, he began asking questions like, hey, how can I help you? What's the context of your ministry? What kind of kids are here? What have you been teaching them? How can I help you minister to these teens so that when I leave, you can continue the work?
A few years ago, I was struggling personally with a lot of different things. And one of those things was my love for science is normally a conflict to faith. And I was like, no, I'm going to choose science over Jesus. And it was what I thought going to be one of my last days at church, unless I was given some kind of a sign. One of those signs happened to be you being on stage advertising Verge, your apologetics ministry. One of the things that impacted me was just the ability to ask questions. Your ministry taught me that it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to learn about the world, learn about science. It is the creation.
Music is one of those things that transcends everything. It transcends culture. It transcends genre. It transcends through all of the chaos you see throughout the world. It can be something so tragic happen. Somebody comes out with a song and everybody's with the lighters. Thousands of people gathering. And music is one of those things that I truly believe is literally going to spark the revival that this nation needs.
The impact that Legin gave Park Place School is absolutely legendary because our students' creative juices were able to flow after they came to Legin's concert. We did have some students who may not have gotten along during the school day, but when we came together for the concert that Legin put on last fall, I think it was, we saw the kids coming together, dancing together, holding each other's hands, hugging one another. And so that's what I saw at the concert.
The second thing I want to share with you, and really what I saw God do through him, was through the story of two teens, BJ and Janae. They would come with their aunt if they got up in time to get a ride with her. Most Sundays they would sleep in too long. But they came to the concert that night, and for the first time since I had known them, it's like I saw the light click on. BJ a lot of times would fall asleep during youth group messages, but now he was engaged and wanting to learn more and asking great questions about the things of God. And that all started because Legin came and God used Legin to pour into those two teens?
So Christian hip hop has been great because it's guided me. It's put the right message in my mind because you're reaching these kids and you have these connections, these special connections that don't make sense. Like doing the YMCA thing in Orlando, going there was like that really like just pounded into my head. Like this is like really impactful because you were getting a chance to speak to these kids who maybe never have gotten to hear the gospel ever. If it weren't for Expect Renaissance and your donors, like you wouldn't be able to do stuff like that.
We have an orphan care center in Soshanguve, South Africa, where it is a township considered to have the poorest of the poor living in Block Y, where our orphan care center is located. And Legin walked into the gates of that orphan care center and helped bring discipleship training to our staff and the community of pastors that we work with.
I seen how you moved. I seen how you, you was able to do shows, you was doing music, you was doing ministry, but also had a family, and your balance looked well. So when I called you, and at first I thought you were gonna say, no, I'm not gonna do it. But nah, in reality, you was very open. He was like, man, I'm honored. And that kind of spoke to me, like, man, I think I cried. I remember telling you, I was just tearing up, like, man, somebody cares about me that much that they can say yes to discipling or mentoring somebody on the side of what they're doing as well. And I know you have a lot going on, and still to say, yes, I can mentor you, still teach you the ropes, still teach you what you need to know.
Proverbs 28:5 says, evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand it completely. I think this verse was made for Legin. I think Legin spends so much time seeking the Lord that his understanding of justice issues are far beyond many of us. Because it's not about Legin, it's about justice, a God-given justice, heart of justice that brings about hope.
In fact, through this whole COVID pandemic, where our grannies and our orphans were starving in their tiny shacks because of a military lockdown, Legin came along beside us and helped us deliver 36 tons of food since March to the doorsteps of our grannies and our orphans, bringing a tangible, real Jesus to them.
What I've seen recently from you that has really blown my mind is the march and how you're able to bring cultures together. And March for Justice, man, it absolutely blew my mind. And to know that you were one of the biggest people behind that, man, everybody's not called to do that, man. And you definitely have been called, and not only called, chosen.
When we decided to kind of call people together for this event, it wasn't pulling strings, it wasn't asking for favors, it was yes, 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 yes. It was a resounding, like, we trust you, we trust your voice, we trust you as leaders in this movement. We want to be a part of it, and we want to follow somebody. I think one of the great things that Legin brings to the table is that he's a connector. He's able to connect people to truths, he's able to connect people, churches together, and he's able to connect people to Jesus. And so I think the march was this beautiful picture of utilizing and capitalizing on connections.
What he did is he asked us and he said, what is next for Charis Global Education? What is the greatest need? I'll never forget when we shared with him that we desperately need a safe house for our girls. That when their granny dies and they're left to fend for themselves, live in their tiny shacks on their own, they're at a great risk for sex trafficking. And with a heart of compassion, he reached out and started to do a Safe House album. He continued to talk to people about money that needed to be raised for the building of the Safe House. Well, that was a couple of years ago, and now we have a Safe House.
in order to raise funds to support the work that Marcia and Jenny were doing in South Africa. So Legin and the other artists from Expect came back and they decided to put their time and their talents to use to launch the very first Safe House album. But as we began launching that project, people kept saying, what are you going to do here? And Brittany and I had experience working in the anti-trafficking space in America, and we really became students of the industry to understand what was the need and how were we going to really serve that need. And so Nigel had moved from the position as the founder into a board position, and we launched Safe House Project as a national nonprofit to combat human trafficking.
So we are just so appreciative of the work that and the talent that Legin continues to offer us, the guidance, the creative vision as a board member and as a co-founder of Safe House Project. And we look forward to seeing how God continues to multiply the impact of what started a few years ago on a missions trip to South Africa with Purist, and see how God just takes our fishes and loaves and He truly multiplies that to a vision that we cannot understand. It all started because of one man and a vision that he had for a safe house and the support of all of you. But I can tell you today, our survivors are being offered hope, freedom, and a future.
So what I would want to say to you is thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for partnering with him, because he was allowed to come to our church to minister to me and to my students and have such a great impact.
If you are doubting what you're giving to, don't. It's amazing, it's beautiful, and I hope you all get a chance to come to a show and experience what's going on. It's truly amazing. It's really God's work.
Some seed falls on concrete and it gets blown away with the wind. Some seed falls on hard soil, so it doesn't get to penetrate and it doesn't get to grow as it should, and it even gets trampled up. But if you sow seed into this particular moment, I'm telling you, it's fertile ground.
So for those who give to Expect Renaissance, man, I want to say personally thank you, because knowing that it's going to good ground, you're not, giving it to just anybody. You're giving it to somebody who's going to try to save the nation if he can, man. I appreciate you personally for what you've done.
It seems like there was always people that God put in my path that kept me at crossroads. You're one of them for offering Verge at the right moment. Thanks for not giving up on me.
I would say to the donors to just continue to give and to continue to love on the next generations, because after Legends finish, doing his concerts, who's going to do the next concerts? Our children.
Please donate to make a difference in the lives of so many that he touches. But we are grateful specifically that he is partnering with Kiris, and this partnership is making a huge difference, not only in South Africa, but the ripple effect is throughout the world.
So if you're a donor, I hope you're really excited, because he's making it happen, and you can trust that his heart, his words are in fact leading to actions that expand the kingdom.
To everybody that's ever given anything to Expect Renaissance, whether we were able to articulate everything we were doing or not, I just appreciate you so much, because we've been able to give hope because you gave hope. We were able to see that life change while I'm on the front lines, and I get to shake their hands and hug the people like you gave and allowed that to happen. And I just thank God for using you to do that. I invite you to continue to give hope, to continue to expect hope to happen. In 2020, people need hope. In 2021, people are going to need hope. Guess what? In 2022, they're still going to need the hope of the gospel.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight for Expect Hope. We really appreciate it.
It means the world that you believe in us and partner with us. We're looking forward to the end of 2020 being great and expecting hope in 2021. Continue to partner with us. And again, we just really appreciate it.